And to officially close the Pacific Culture Forum and deliver closing remarks, I am honored to invite the Minister of Pacific People of New Zealand. He is an avid supporter of diversity and of protecting the stories, culture, and tradition of Pacific languages. So let's give a warm welcome to the Minister of Pacific Peoples of New Zealand, the Honorable Aupito William Sio.
That session was long. I put on 3 kilos. Your Excellencies, I do want to acknowledge your patience, your endurance. While the session was long, it was still an important component of the Pacific Exposition, important in terms of us gaining better understanding of one another. So it now falls on me just to provide some closing remarks and to wish you safe travels. I want to begin by just acknowledging the fact that we have all gathered here at the invitation of the Indonesian government, and we've left our families, our homes, because none of us wanted to miss this auspicious occasion. And so to all of you who have participated and spoken throughout the past 3 days, shared your insights and thoughts about our shared future, I acknowledge you. To those who have sung, performed, the business people, our community leaders, our government leaders, I acknowledge you also. The Pacific region matters deeply to New Zealand. The ties that bind Aotearoa New Zealand to Moana Niuakiwa, the people of the vast Pacific Ocean, our blue continent, are those of a shared history, culture, and genealogy, tracing back many generations to the first Polynesian arrivals here. We are in and off the Pacific. Our well-being, our prosperity, our security are intertwined. Our engagement in the region is non-discretionary. The fact that Aotearoa has a Pacific People's Ministry reflects New Zealand's strong connection to the Pacific and the significant Pacific communities in New Zealand. Within a decade, 1 in 10 New Zealanders will identify as being of Pacific Island heritage. The New Zealand government has made this clear through its lift in ambition and investment under the Pacific Reset. The Reset is centred on our commitment to building deeper partnerships with our Pacific neighbours and addressing the complex challenges they face. It's important in the Pacific context that an event such as this Expo, with an economic focus, has a strong cultural component. This is because economic development, protection of the environment, and the resilience of Pacific cultures are deeply connected. So I commend the Indonesian government and all those who have organised this for including culture on the agenda. What we encourage are modes of engagement developed in partnership with Pacific Island countries and in alignment with regional governance structures, the most important part of this being the Pacific Islands Forum. It is by working together through organisations like this that we can create new opportunities and equip future generations to succeed in a more Pacific-oriented world. Working together, we have the potential to build a shared economic resilience, strengthen governance within the region, raise the standard of living for all people, and ensure good labour laws that guarantee decent working conditions and a fair return on work for every person that works our economic development possible. Within Aotearoa, New Zealand, we are committed to ensuring that Pacific is an inherent part of society. One of my ministry's goals is thriving Pacific languages, cultures, and identities inside New Zealand as an integral component of New Zealand life and prioritising work that will lift incomes, skills, and opportunities for Pacific people. My ministry has published a report, the Pacific Aotearoa Lalangafo Report. This report articulates what our Pacific communities have told us are important to them in becoming a thriving, confident, prosperous, and resilient Pacific community in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And because of this, the investments that this government will be making over the next 4 years give more Pacific people the opportunity to connect to their language, culture, and identity, take on meaningful work, access affordable healthcare, and enjoy quality education. The business opportunities you have been here to create over the last few days are not only important for economic growth, they will also play a profound role in all our lives, whether as employees or consumers, or by coming up with innovative solutions to the challenges we face. Working together to create more business opportunities across the Pacific will not only provide economic benefits, they also have the potential to offer a source of identity and meaning in the lives of many. And fostering these opportunities is crucial to our own and our collective well-being, as well as our economic success. Auckland is home to over 2/3 of the New Zealand Pacific population. Auckland is a Pacific city. And here in Auckland, the Pacific is not at margins, but central to who we are as a city and as a nation. Our Pacific friends and neighbours are increasingly shaping and influencing what happens here culturally, economically, and politically. Auckland is a city of interaction, of conversation, of talanoa. And every day, each of us are interacting and building enduring relationships with people from all over, many of whom will have strong ties to local and national markets you have been here to discuss. It is through our interactions and the relationships we develop that we learn about each other's cultures, societies, and languages, and in turn, the opportunities we have to cooperate together. It is these relationships that underpin our economic ties locally and globally. New Zealand welcomes Indonesia's interest in lifting its Pacific-focused engagement. Aotearoa will continue to advocate the importance of working in partnership with the Pacific so that we can advance regional priorities while respecting the established processes of the Pacific. In the beginning at the Tourism Forum, I made reference that I compared this event as similar to that of a wedding. And I want to continue a bit with that scenario. We've all come together. It is an auspicious occasion. And we have been the recipients of their bride and the family's hospitality, generosity, and goodness and bounty in the last few days. We have feasted in the wonderful spread of tantalizing ideas, of a smorgasbord of information, of expanded networks, of new partnerships, of potential opportunities. We have been entertained by renowned and talented artists, including the uncle of the bride, His Excellency Tautai Yayay, the ambassador of Indonesia to New Zealand. Our senses have been entertained with a diversity of cultures and languages which showcase an immense wealth of music, performance, and creativity and talents that should be recognized as an asset to be celebrated, to be valued and promoted. I referred also that at a wedding from a Pacific perspective, we use the symbol of a coconut tree to plant. The coconut is a tree of life in the Pacific. But coconut trees are also used to mark sacred boundaries, cultural boundaries, and I want to briefly refer to 3 sacred cultural boundaries. The first is the relationship between people. Pacific want enduring relationships, long, Nobody wants a relationship that is a one-night stand, that may fail. We have often experienced with sadness how in this region relationships break up, and we see it in our own families. Family violence, domestic violence, sexual abuse, that sort of thing has abounded this region. And we do not want those mistakes repeated, the mistakes of the past. We want the relationships to be enduring and long-standing. The second sacred boundary I want to refer to, a cultural boundary, is between people and our environment. We acknowledge the sacred nature of our ocean, home, the seas, the lands, the plants, the animals, the winds, the rain, the sun, all have a sacred purpose. We all coexist interdependently, and we rely on one another. And the question that we need to collaborate on, how do we increase our prosperity for all peoples of the Pacific without destroying our home, our environment, our oceans, our food and water supplies? And finally, the last boundary that coconuts often are used to mark, and that is the sacred cultural boundary between people and the cosmos. I refer to the spiritual realm, the unseen, the intangible. And just as a leaf is plucked from the branches of a tree by a wind, we may not see the wind, but we can see the leaf moving, and we can feel the cool embrace of a breeze. Faith and religion are important aspects of Pacific well-being, but religion has also been used by men to undermine human rights and freedoms. How do we achieve respect and acceptance of our differences? These cultural boundaries are sacred, and I reflect those to you to entertain and to continue the conversation about those sacred cultural boundaries. It requires all of us to be open, to be frank, to communicate, and to better understand and appreciate our diversity and each other's differences. And therefore, may I take the liberty on behalf of all the guests who are here to simply thank and acknowledge our hosts, the Indonesian government, but in particular, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Indonesia here in New Zealand. It has been your hard work and your effort that has enabled all of this to come together. And I note that as the previous panel were discussing, and as the tamura drums were beating next door, I could feel your movement and your desire for us to complete this so that we can go off and celebrate. So it then falls that I simply say, may the coconut tree that we plant today bear many, many fruits in the future. For those of you who are returning to your countries, Selamat Jalan, safe travels. Thank you, Termina Kasih, and to all of today's participants. I am pleased to declare this forum and the expo closed. Kia kaha, God's blessing, safe travels back to your homes.